I am trying to understand what were the developers thinking. Hello everyone, a quick word from me regarding these ridiculous balance changes. The June 2024 balance update. As you can see, I'm recording this a couple of days after they went live, 3 days to be more precise. And I was hoping that they will revert some of their changes, or at least make it consistent. So the problem here that I personally have is the left side that says status ailments no longer self-trigger secondary effects. We'll get into it in a moment. I think that Pepper Flame did need to be adjusted, nerfed in particularly. She was a bit too dominant in every aspect of play. I'm really happy to see all of these families get buffed that we see on the right, the upper right. However, they are only buffing the costume bonuses. So if you have an old hero, but you didn't manage to pull the costume, you still have an old hero that's now comparatively even weaker than the new one with the costume. Some of the families, like the goblins, I can't remember the one to the left of it, how they're called, but basically the goblin counters, they really didn't need the buff. But anyways, at least they're buffing some of the weaker heroes and weaker costumes and stuff, so I applaud them for that. If they could get around to working on some 4 cost and 3 cost heroes, that would be nice too, but I can see how that is not a priority. Let's get back to business here. It states here, at the other end of the table, Pepper Flame's power is being slightly toned down. That would be good, but this is a huge hit, not slightly toned down. And there will also be a general change to how status ailments secondary effects work. Such effects will no longer trigger unless specifically stated otherwise when a status ailment is replaced with itself. Full details, we will take a look at them now, but this is my problem. When the status ailment is replaced with itself. So if we go, whoops, too far. If we go down here, it says, unless specifically stated otherwise, replacing a status ailment with itself will no longer trigger its secondary effect. This change affects the following heroes: Pepperflame, Puffit, Starwalker, which is the only one that I actually have, and that's a reason why I'm a bit biased and salty and angry, because I just got him, leveled him up and started, and I did alpha limit break him, and I did choose a legendary troop specifically for him: Erlangshan, Grimsteel, Fitzcoil, and Boots. It states, let's get back here. So it states that the status ailment is replaced with itself. I do recognize that some of these heroes were too strong. I'm looking at Pepper Flame mostly, but also the other heroes, they are all top-notch heroes. When they came out, I think Erlangshan was the first one amongst them. They changed the way this game is played. War Equalizer wars in particular, but also there were some interesting hero pairings and combinations that could work. So I do believe they were a bit too strong at some points. So at the moment, Pepper Flame was definitely standing out, but I don't think this was the solution, or at least if this was the solution, I don't believe it was executed properly, because the way that they made these changes, it ruins the whole mechanic of self-triggering, or not self-triggering, but of secondary effects. So I believe that you shouldn't ruin the whole mechanic. I have a much simpler solution, and I still don't understand if this is what they actually meant. As they said, self-triggering, so when replaced with itself. I believe this part is the issue. So for example, if someone has 5 Pepper Flames, he could just continuously fire them, so they charge in however many tiles. I believe she's fast, I might be wrong. And then they can just fire once, then fire her twice to reactivate the effects, then again to reactivate, then again. The same thing could be done with Star Walker, or it could be done with, let's say, in Rush Attack, where you could ghost 3 tiles and charge them up really quickly. So if in these situations, yes, it is a bit too strong. It is a bit overwhelming, especially, let's say, in defense, because they can charge a lot quicker. So let's say you're up against a Pepper Flame tank. She fires once. Okay, maybe you survive. Some of your heroes survive. If you don't kill her and she fires twice, which is likely to happen with these legendary troops and alpha limit breaks, and now with 25 mana nodes, 25 talent nodes, if she fires twice, you basically lost. So in these two situations, self-triggering makes sense. The wording makes sense. So either the same hero fires twice in a row in a short period of time, or the exact same hero, I mean, if you have a multiple copies of the exact same hero, as in the first example, they can fire in the same turn multiple times. And these two situations, I believe, shouldn't work, especially if we were to read into this text. So it says when a status ailment is replaced with itself. However, my problem is that they changed it in a really weird way. So I have Star Walker, so I'm most familiar with him, even though I only have him for a short period of time. His secondary effect used to be able to proc if he would activate his special skill again in the 3 turns that the effect lasts. That's the part that I can see as being too strong, and I think that should be changed. But the second thing is, you used to be able to reactivate it with Costume Kirill, just a normal defense down that overrides his effect, with who's next? Costume Kirill, then with Morel. So that was my awesome combo, which I was so excited to use, but now I will not be able to because they changed it. However, these effects don't work anymore for some reason, but Tinsel works. Why? I'm not sure. Athena, I believe, works. So they have a slightly different effect, that a slightly different defense down that varies on certain factors, and they have a different icon. I believe this is the trick. So in theory, Frigg, Guan Yu, and the heroes like these could trigger it still. I haven't checked with all of them, but the ones that I did do actually work, and I heard from multiple people, since I don't have Tinsel, that it still works. So now we're at the point where it doesn't make sense. Either change all of them or change none of them, because Star Walker is like 20% of the hero he used to be, literally, without this interaction. So, and whatsoever, I was testing this versus a random team, I think even a teammate, where Toon Vivica would cleanse from all of her allies, and none of them took any damage. I don't know if the heal was bigger than the damage and it just didn't show, but it should show the icon that they are taking damage. So I think this was hastily done, and I think this needs to be revisited, because it doesn't make any sense. I do agree that Pepper Flame needed a nerf. I can see the reasoning for changing and nerfing this self-trigger status effect, but I don't think this way that they did it is the solution. So my suggestion would be to basically, the thing that they wrote is correct, but I don't think they executed it in the best way, or at least in the way that I would like. So my suggestion would be that the status ailment cannot trigger itself. So if it's coming from the exact same hero or a copy of that hero, but it should still be activated by different heroes that do the same. So there are multiple examples. Poffet is one of them, actually. I just remembered. Multiple examples for multiple heroes, but I don't have all of them. However, I do know how they work. So I cannot come up with different examples. However, I think and I hope that my reasoning makes sense. I hope that it reaches Small Giant or Zynga or whoever needs to hear this, and my goal here is to make them reconsider their decision and their patch or update, and perhaps apply a small patch just to make this at least consistent. So yes, I am aware that I am being biased since I do have Star Walker, but there are so many people who have at least one of these heroes, and there are actually quite a few people who chased and spent a lot of money on acquiring many of these heroes. And this time I believe Small Giants has gone a bit too far, because they didn't just nerf these heroes, they destroyed the main mechanic that they use, the main thing that makes them viable and arguably OP. So I honestly hope that this gets changed, because basically, unfortunately, this is just making even more players, especially older players such as me, want to quit the game. So developers, please, here are pleads, and at least consider changing this and making it a bit more consistent, if not anything else. I also wanted to mention that these combinations, the way that these heroes used to work, I think it was a lot more fun, and I don't think killing them, basically destroying their one characteristic mechanic, is the way to go, because basically it was so interesting trying to find a good hero to match up with these heroes, for example. So using Morel or Costume Kirill, or searching for interesting combos. Some people now are looking at Snow White and Costume Snow White. I was looking at Annabelle, Lepiota. There are still some options, but a lot less. And then the game itself is basically less fun, because you don't have that many options to choose from. You're not as flexible as you used to be, and also it comes down to just use the newest, the strongest heroes that you do have, and pray for the best. So this is also a thought that I've been having since this patch went through. And also, I must say, the compensation for these changes are miserable. I think we got like one epic tome of experience, and that's it. No, sorry, Small Giant. This does not make up for your changes, for you ruining all of our heroes. At least give us some reset tokens, because we all spent so much materials and time and everything into leveling these heroes, limit breaking them, alpha limit breaking them, giving them talents, maybe even golden talents, And of course, I am a bit biased, but I did not spend nearly as much as many other players did. So please, that I hope that this is at least one more thing to take into consideration. Thank you all for joining me for this rant, I can safely say. Sorry for my mood, because this did piss me off quite a bit, and I honestly even lost the will to play the game. So maybe I'll take a break, maybe I won't, we'll see. However, the uploads won't stop, and we will see what happens. I'm hoping for a quick reply. If you guys have any suggestions how we could maybe reach out to the developers in the way that our voices actually get heard, I would appreciate all of your help, and I think it would be the healthiest thing for the game. I did make a few comments on Facebook groups and the forum, but I'm not used to using those, so I don't think that's the best way to reach a wider audience, so any help will be appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully we will we will have some good news soon.